What's up, guys?
Hello,
We
How's it
hello.
going?
we somehow managed to do this without Ed Rivera at the helm here. Ed, it's maybe we should have logged on more than like 3 minutes early to to make sure that we had this. Anna, we have guest host Pat Larson with us today. How exciting is that?
I'm super excited to have Pat here. The man, the myth, the legend.
Absolutely. By the way, if since we haven't, I don't think we've promoted this like in the least tonight. So if you guys want to go retweet the Curve Brim Media account, you can definitely definitely do that.
Good
Bring some
plan.
people in. Hey, but look, we got people coming in. That's all right. Um, Pat Larson, host of the Minor League Baseball Hat History Series, is here with us co-hosting. Ed Rivera, he's retired from podcasting. He's started a new job as a bus driver for his local school district. He tells jokes to all the kids as they get on the school bus now, and so he's gonna be doing great in that job. But we'll never see Ed again. He's gone forever. So,
Can we at least wish him the best of luck in his future endeavors?
best of luck to Ed Rivera, who we'll never see again. That's a bummer, but hey, we got Pat Larson instead. And Anna and I were just saying how we were getting a little bit tired of Ed anyway, and so this is kind of great to have Pat instead. So Pat hosted the Minor League Baseball Hat History Series, delving deep into the Asheville Tourists this week on the Hat History Series. That's a fun one. That's one of my favorite brands. So Pat, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Always good to be with you, Paul, and obviously with Anna, the legend that you are. So I really appreciate it.
Anna, you're representing the Tampa Bay Rays here. Your
right, yeah.
Tampa Bay Rays. Yeah.
That's right.
All right.
Yeah. First couple days of the off season, some moves already in progress, and
things are happening.
That's what they say. Is
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what they put together for the next year.
All right. Sounds like we're trading you Rhys Hoskins, by the way. So get ready for Rhys Hoskins. Get ready for a concrete glove with a lot of should-be scoops bouncing right off it. So
can't wait.
Hey, we have a real live rundown here. We have a real live show flow for our first ever of the post-Ed era, of the Ed driving a school bus era. I should say, by the way, Ed will be back next week. He's horrified to miss this week, and he's really sad about it. And he'll be back. It's the first one he's ever missed.
Yeah, he's his perfect attendance record ruined, which is probably why he'll lose his school bus driving job. So,
well, they just called me in for temporary relief. Think of me as like a situational right-hander in this case.
Situational right-hander, is that such a thing? Is that real?
No, well, it is now. So you're bringing me in for that one batter and until Ed can make his way back.
All right. Well, thanks for being here, Pat. Thanks for everyone in the comments. We got Mike Sellers, host of the Up to Chat podcast. We've got Shane, who is a regular here on the show. John Southey, our I was going to say relevant Braves fan, or resident Braves fan. And of course, Eric Profit, host of the Earned Fun Average, which I just listened to today, but I haven't commented on it yet. I had to go comment. They interviewed a player today, so that was fun. So anyhow, it's nice to see everybody. Is John a Yankees fan? I thought John was who am I thinking of? That's the Braves fan.
That's Philip.
Philip. Yeah, that's right.
Philip's
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we've got a lot to talk about. There's been a lot that's going on. I guess I don't really need to break down the fact that my Phillies, since the last time we all chatted, that my Phillies have lost the World Series. That I saw in person. There's Philip, our Braves.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. So apologies to John and Philip. But I got to go to a World Series game, and then it turned out to be the last game that the Phillies won the whole season. So, and the thing that ended the Phillies season, by the way, was our friend James Christopher, after Kyle Schwarber hit the home run to put the Phillies up 1-0 in Game 6 of the World Series. A well-lubricated James Christopher texted me, "Congratulations on the win and the series." When it was 1-0 in the 6th inning, and I was just
classic reverse jinx. Solid move
Exactly.
from
The
Jen.
reverse
Yeah.
jinx. I almost wrote him back just to say congratulations to you. I reject your reverse jinx. But that is what lost the Phillies the World Series was James's reverse jinx. It was well played by him.
Well, let's be honest, Paul. You probably would have done the same thing if it would have been Yordan Alvarez home run. You would have said,
Well, I congratulated him on the win, the series win after Game 5. So I thought, but he undid my reverse jinx with his own reverse jinx. So, all right. Here's our other guest host.
and the real star guest host of the show,
Yeah.
Yodel.
Exactly. Get ready for a lot of weird stuff in the comments here as she walks across my keyboard. All right, but we have a show flow. We have a whole rundown to talk about. There's a lot going on. Let's talk about at long last, the Grand Junction Rockies, who are way overdue for a name change.
Yeah.
Finally changed their name after being purchased by the Future Legends Complex, which is the team that owns who else? Pat, you're about to say, you're dying to say it. Who do they own?
The Northern Colorado Owls with a Z.
The Northern Colorado Owls with a Z. So I got to speak with Nathan Martinez, who is the designer for Future Legends Complex. And he created the brand for the brand new Grand Junction Jackalopes. And so that was a great time. And I also got to speak with Ranger Amy Burnett about how to trap about the mating habits of the jackalope and how to track a jackalope. And so if you haven't listened to the podcast yet and you want to track a jackalope, there's real life techniques on there. But how excited are we to not have a team, the Grand Junction Rockies, who were named for their previous parent club? It wasn't even their parent club. It was their previous parent club who owned them still. The Rockies still owned them, but it was still not their parent club. What do we think of the new brand? What do you guys, let's just go around the horn here. Anna, what do you think?
Love the name.
Yeah.
Very, very, very cool. I like it a lot. We call my nephew, his name is Jackson. We call him Jackalope. So I love it. I think they did a great job with the logo. I will say, after listening to your show, Paul, it sounds like you're not convinced that jackalopes are real.
Well, Ranger Amy Burnett, who is here in the comments winking at me saying that I'm a magic man, wildlife consultant and musical enthusiast, baseball by design, wildlife consultant and music enthusiast, Ranger Amy Burnett. Yeah. Pat is going to hold me to that every single time here.
I am.
She's the wildlife consultant, and so she knows. And so she was telling me all about the prehistoric mammoth jackrabbits, and then how they've evolved to a much smaller size now. And so, I guess I always thought that jackrabbit skeletons were just liberal propaganda, to make me believe in evolution. So but I guess maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're real. So anyway, yeah. So Ranger Amy came on, talked about that. Oh, and here's Eric Prophet, not consultant, correspondent. I can't keep track of my own podcast.
Correspondent sounds more like legit. Like,
yeah,
it
does.
Consultant is a hired gun. Like,
yeah.
Correspondent is someone who's invested.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm only kind of allowed to say this. I'm not really allowed to say this. I can only say like a little bit of this, but there was almost, somebody asked the question. I think it was Mike Sellers asked the question. No. Sorry. It was Shane. I can't believe there wasn't a team already called the Jackalopes already. There was this close to being a Jackalopes. They had awesome logos and everything, and it did not happen. And this was years and years and years ago. This was like 15, 20 years ago. And I have seen the logos, and they're super, super amazing. So yeah, now Shane is bringing up like actual mythological creatures like the platypus, which we all know is not real. That's ridiculous. If you're going to invent an animal, at least make it like vaguely believable, right? Like the platypus is just ridiculous. So anyway, here's wildlife consultant, wildlife correspondent, and musical enthusiast Amy Burnett laughing at me right now. So
Ranger Amy Burnett, come on,
Ranger Amy Burnett.
I need. Is there an acronym for that? Somebody write that down and give me an acronym. So Mike Sellers actually asked the question, how did I get the episode out so fast for the Jackalopes? It's sort of wild how it happened. Is I was messaging with Nathan Martinez, who is the designer for the, like I said, Future Legends Complex. They're the ones who just purchased the team. And I messaged him when I was covering the article, covering the team for sportslogos.net. And I messaged him and I was just like, hey, I assume this is your work and I credit you with this. And he's like, yeah, it totally is. And then I was just like, you want to come on the podcast? And he's like, yeah. It's like tomorrow. He says, yeah. So we did that. And then, baseball by design, wildlife correspondent and musical enthusiast Ranger Amy Burnett, had already has a canned presentation on jackalopes already. So is well versed in the science of the jackalopes. And so was ready to come on at the drop of a hat. So I was able to record both interviews for that episode and edit it overnight and got it up there on like literally hours after I finished the second interview. So
impressive.
It was pretty wild. I've never done anything like that. And then Dan Simon wrote me. He's just like, how come whenever I do an interview, I have to wait weeks to hear it? It's like, sorry, Dad. Look, Shane did it. Thank you, Shane.
Now how do you say it?
Yeah, I'm not sure that's any better.
Bibidwick Merab.
Yeah.
Bibidwick Merab.
Good attempt. I got to be honest with you.
That's pretty good,
Yeah.
I think. So
It is.
More real jackalopes or the mountain time zone? Clearly jackalopes.
Jackalopes. And the interesting story about the jackalopes. I know that John Southey brought up that the Round Rock Express actually played a game as the jackalopes, but also when it was still a league, the Expedition League was going to have an expansion team called the Rapid City Jackalopes at one point. I think in Rapid City, South Dakota, if I'm not mistaken. There was actually plans to do that, but the team never really got up and running. So, and they had their own logo as well.
Or hopping.
Must be hopping toward that whiskey.
Towards the whiskey rabbit. Now, how has there not been a whiskey rabbits yet either?
Ooh.
Yep.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. So, but I really like it. I really like the use of the purple for the jackrabbits. So, Anna, I feel like I cut you off. I feel like you were about to say something. I'm laughing too because Johnny keeps commenting on the conversations between Amy and me, and it makes me laugh.
I was just gonna say the whiskey rabbit is like obviously a prime opportunity for some sort of alternate identity, and one that I would probably buy everything they offered for.
And nowadays, I feel like you can do this.
Yeah, right. Cervezas, margaritas. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
10 years ago. So this actually brings up an interesting thing that in a conversation that I had with Dan Simon for a different article that I was writing for sportslogos.net on the Erie Seawolves and their new Howling Wolf. I think the Howling Dead, Howling Dead identity that they did. And this was, I don't know if you guys saw the article, but Dan Simon was saying how this is actually a brand. This is a logo he came up with 10 years ago. And I had actually put it in an article that I wrote in 2016 saying, here's an article that here's a logo that Dan Simon did, but the team didn't use. And so then like 10 years after they unveil it, like literally 10 years to the day, he said, after they unveiled or after he presented this logo idea to them, they came up with, they eventually ended up using it and they unveiled it. And so I thought it was pretty interesting. What he said was, 10 years ago, there wasn't room for this because there wasn't the same preponderance of alternate identities. And now with so many alternate identities that you can get away with using something that has a more sort of narrow target audience. So that's pretty interesting. We're living in the golden age of minor league baseball alternate identities, which means more hats for Pat.
You're not wrong.
I think this is true here, what Mike says about name your team whiskey anything.
Yeah.
And also what Lynn said about the Wheat City Whiskey Jacks that were in Brandon, Manitoba.
God.
So
the collective knowledge of this group just makes me weep.
Acting like you're not a New York Times bestseller with story behind the nickname, which you can get on Amazon.com.
So good, Pat. This is why we bring Pat on to make us feel good about ourselves.
The world's best hype man.
Oh, don't worry, Anna. I've got stuff to promote for you too. But
Great.
Something about a Japan ball, trip to the Midnight Sun game, something like that. There's
Yeah.
a waiting list. There's a no risk waiting list that you can get on or something like that. You
Yeah.
know, no
That's
commitment,
great. Yeah,
something like
that's
that.
great. Very exciting stuff.
It
Yeah.
is.
This is going to be one of those things you're going to have do like a whole month's worth of episodes on people fulfilling that bucket list dream item right there.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, yeah, I'm trying to put some stuff together, as you mentioned last week, to kinda catch up with folks who have come on the show and, now checked off their bucket list item. So, um, I think that could be a cool little mashup episode.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great. Yeah. You could have people like record. No, it's your podcast. You do you do what you like. So Philip is conducting a little a little rogue poll over here in the comments. Better tourist mascot, Mr. Moon or Ted E. Tourist? Zach Beeson says Mr. Moon is not close. And then John and Mike both say Ted E. So I don't know.
I'm team
I don't know.
Teddy too.
Yeah, I'm Teddy as well.
I can't decide if I like Ted E just for the pure nostalgia of it, just because it's sort of classic looking one, or because I kind of like the Moon one too. So
Yeah, well, I just like that it's Ted E. Tourist.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just,
Love
yeah, it's very clever. I love it.
All right, so we have a couple other things that we wanted to talk about here. I think let's. This doesn't have to be a long conversation here, but I'm interested in this. This was new information to me. I learned this afternoon, courtesy of, I'm going to try to pronounce the Bibid McWirab. I don't think that's right. But Ranger Amy texted me today about the Atlanta Braves sending pizza to the Houston Astros, and I guess the Astros tweeted it out. And they were like, "Thanks, Braves, for the pizza." And my first thought was like the Braves were happy because the Astros beat their division rivals and were sending them pizza. I had no idea that this was a tradition for the previous year's World Series winner to send pizza to the following years, to the current World Series winner.
It's one of those. It's one of the things that I like. I think I see it every year, and every year I go, "Oh, wow, I had no idea that happened."
Yeah.
And then it's, like, vaguely familiar, but,
Like,
yeah, I suppose it's the front office from the previous winner sends lunch to the current winner,
but
so
specifically pizza.
right, yeah. I wonder why. Could we find an origin story for that? Does anyone know?
Oh, now we got a research project.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I learned about it from New York Times bestselling author and baseball by design creator Paul Caputo. So
just this afternoon.
yeah, I didn't know either.
So
I didn't
none
know
of us
that was
had
even
ever
a
heard
thing.
of this. Yeah.
No, I hadn't.
This is pretty interesting.
So
Well, I like it. I like the tradition very much. But Anna says that she's heard it. She hears it every year and then forgets it. So I feel like you need to get a tattoo on your shoulder or something, like memento, and be like, every
I
year
do
in
love
October, be
When-
like,
when the Rays win the World Series, she's getting that tattooed pizza. She's like, bring on the pizza or special delivery.
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking of pizza, all right, hang in there with me on this. Have you guys noticed your Twitter follower count go down at all recently? Anna, I think you said yours actually went up a little bit, but has yours has gone up? When Elon Musk took over Twitter, I noticed immediately, I lost 10, 15 followers right away from people bailing on Twitter, including, and here's why, speaking of pizza, including Sophie Ballgame, who is the woman who sent the pizza to the Mariners. Who'd she send it to?
Jesse Winkler.
Yeah, Jesse Winkler.
Jesse Winkler.
Yeah. So anyway, that was pretty funny. I thought was what I lost. Not only did I lose followers, but I lost people I was following. Like the following count also went down. So it was either because I was tweeting too much about the Phillies or because people were bailing on Twitter. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, mine went down too, Paul. So I've been really close to 800, and then it's so close, and then it's you lose 6 followers, and I was like, well, the road to 800 starts again. So So yeah,
800. How do you not have 5,000 followers, Pat? It's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
right.
please.
Yeah.
No, I mean, our community is great. So it doesn't,
Yeah.
so it really, at the end of the day, the follower count doesn't really matter. It's the people that are in the chat, the people that we get to interact with every day. And obviously the Curb Room Media family that I'm so lucky to be a part of. That's what it's all about. And the greater MILB community. That's really what the special part is.
100%. How great would it have did you see Ben Hill posted? I'm sure you guys saw this. Ben Hill posted when the Marvel identity came out for the Tri-City Dust Devils. Ben Hill posted that he wished it had been Eric the Peanut Guy instead of just a revamp of their mascot. How great would it have been to have Eric the Peanut Guy as a Marvel logo? That would have been amazing.
Well, I asked him for a friend
Yeah.
because I had the same question that Ben had, and I was like, so just asking for, and I wanted to know from Eric, asking for a friend, that does every purchase of a Dust Devils MILB Marvel hat come with a signed baseball card by a real life superhero, Eric Burton's, aka Eric the Peanut Guy? Again, just asking for a friend. And he neither confirmed nor denied it. But he did acknowledge that he saw the comment. So hopefully if we keep pushing for that, we might get those real life superhero baseball cards with every hat purchase.
Nice. It'd be pretty cool if the Dust Devils would play as the Peanut Guys one day. Just like
I think it's I mean, just from a business standpoint, I think it's a moneymaker just
right
off the bat.
Just from the 5-10 of us on Twitter who we know would buy that stuff right away.
I think I might have to buy purchase tickets, to fly over there to be in person for that game. I think that's just one of those ones that you just have to be there for the experience, and then put like a cape on the life size bobblehead, and yeah, I mean, there's so many things you could do.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Also on the rundown today, per Anna, this was Anna's question, and I like this quite a bit here. The question of, the World Baseball Classic, which I think is a really cool thing, and I have an idea that I might get to see some World Baseball Classic, March, I think 11 through 15 in Arizona at Chase Field next year. So that would be pretty cool to go see some pool play there. Time for a petition is exactly right. Time to make this happen. And Mike Sellers also brings up the Tri-City Tres Leches. Look at Zach Beeson already brings it up. This is like a holdover from like episode 3 of Baseball by Design, by the way, that he was talking about the Tres Leches. This goes way back. That's a deep dive right there.
That's a listener right there.
Yeah. Yep. By the way, do you think it's of note that we're talking about Eric the Peanut Guy and I'm drinking a peanut butter porter?
Meant to be,
Yeah. And that's good taste.
So the World Baseball Classic is happening. So have you guys ever been to a World Baseball Classic game?
No, I want to go. I want to say Ed, our good friend Ed Rivera, has been. I think he saw Spain play Puerto Rico, if I remember correctly. I could be making that up.
I think you're right. I don't know. I can't name the teams, but I believe he did say he's been to one.
Okay. I went to a Caribbean Series game in Puerto Rico. That was awesome. That was really fun. But yeah, I've never been to a World Baseball Classic. So that possibility exists. So, John, peanut butter ice cream. Good stuff.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah. Now you're speaking my language. So no, but I've never been to a World Baseball Classic. And so I had to forego, by the way, one of my bucket list items was to get to an Arizona Fall League game. And courtesy of Southwest Airlines, which I just absolutely love. I wish they would sponsor my podcast so that I could talk about them all the time, because I love Southwest. I book flights all the time, and there's a 50% chance every time I book a Southwest flight that I'm actually taking it, because I'm always just booking flights and changing them. And so so I had flights booked to go to Arizona. We were going to see an Arizona Fall League game, and then the Phillies had to go and make the World Series, and my brother had to go and get me a ticket. So then all of a sudden we're going to Philadelphia instead of to Arizona. So no Arizona Fall League game as of yet. So I'll have to push that, I guess, to next year. But going back to Arizona for the World Baseball Classic would be very cool. I'd love to see a game. I wonder what the atmosphere would be like. And I guess it depends on sort of who's playing.
I wonder too if it's, I mean, it's early in the year. I would presume that, that would be one of your very few chances to see Chase Field with the roof open.
Mm,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
good
I
point.
um that's Zach is trying to, so Zach is a guest on an upcoming episode, by the way, of the of Baseball by Design. He's coming on to talk about the Salt Lake Bees with me. An
Love
episode
that.
that we have, one of those ones where like that I recorded it and I'm like, at the time of this recording, it's Halloween, but now spring training is just about to start. Um, so but yeah, and so Zach's mom works for Southwest. This would be amazing. I love him so much. I'm constantly like booking flights on Southwest, and it's sort of like sometimes just like purely aspirational, right? Like so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
That's our airline of choice too. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And then okay, I can't make it, got to cancel it. So, um,
Southwest is starting to do a lot more out of Atlanta too. So I'm starting to kind of, for the longest time, there wasn't like a lot of the access to Southwest that a lot of people out West had.
right.
And,
Mhm.
but in the last few years they have, so I'm starting to check it out more because they seem to be a lot more flexible with changing flights and plans changing. So I'm definitely giving them a second look.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do want to follow up on the World Baseball Classic thing, but I have a question for you guys. I asked it on my other social media outlet that I like hardly ever talk about on Twitter, but on Facebook. I got onto Facebook in like a real way in 2011 after the Phillies got eliminated from the playoffs. The next morning, I started up the Countdown to Spring Training Facebook page. And that has like, I have like 6-7 times more followers on that than I do on my Twitter account, but like I use the Twitter account for so much more. But the Countdown to Spring Training is where I literally like every day I'm just like, this many days until the games start. The question I asked the other day: Cactus League versus Grapefruit League, what do you guys think?
Grapefruit.
Grapefruit for me.
Grapefruit. Yeah. Is that just because of your teams or the actual experience? You want to be near the ocean? I have some thoughts about this. Have you done both? Have you both done both of them?
No.
Nope. I've only done grapefruit. But the nostalgia is there because in the 90s we took a family vacation out to Florida for spring training. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know that you could ever beat that.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah. Mine is definitely team related with the Blue Jays being in Dunedin, but also when I went to spring training, I went down to Dunedin and I also stopped off in Clearwater to see your Phillies, Paul.
Clearwater.
And so Clearwater.
Yeah.
Sorry, excuse me. Clearwater. I need to go get some water ice.
Yep, there you go. Perfect. You're doing it. So I have been to both. And my brother and I, and extended family, including wildlife consultant Ranger Amy. I can't do the whole thing all the time.
Did you actually write it down? Because I saw you look off to the side.
No, I just was.
There
That's
is
my eyes like going into like thinking mode. But we're planning a big family trip to Clearwater for Phillies spring training next year. So we're going back to Florida.
Good for you.
I have not been to spring training in Florida since 2000. Sorry, since like 1995.
Oh wow.
Took a couple of road trips during college. We drove from Richmond overnight down to Florida, and then we'd go down the Atlantic coast and then up the Gulf Coast, and like drive a couple hours each day. And I did know, and since then I've been to spring training in Arizona a couple of times, and the thing that I really like about it, and this is something that Dave pointed out, was the closeness. Like you can stay in one hotel in Arizona and hit like every team's within like a half hour, and so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it probably depends on what your goal is for the trip. Is if it's to see as many teams as possible, then then I think that maybe Arizona would probably be the way to go. But maybe your priority is just to see a couple of teams, and maybe driving isn't the issue that you need. So for me, it was just staying as close to Dunedin as I could, but also just kind of seeing the few that were around the area and just trying to enjoy those. We actually saw 2 Phillies games and a Blue Jays game. So,
Nice.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah.
That was our plan. We had plans. I had T-shirts made and everything in 2020 to go to spring training, and had to cancel our Southwest flights to go because we canceled it because of COVID. And Amy says by hotel he means Ranger Amy's zoo. That's true. Oh yes, if I were to go to spring training in Arizona, that's true. That I would be staying at the. You should see Ranger Amy's the menagerie that she has in her backyard with all these, like, she's got desert tortoises and like all these like crazy animals and snakes and other turtles, and so
Yeah.
you
Not,
would
not to
expect with a wildlife consultant to have a backyard full of animals.
wildlife correspondent.
Wildlife correspondent.
Okay.
It's actually like a Disney movie because she's a musical enthusiast as well. She goes out there and she sings, and so like all the animals are sort of like swirling around her head,
and she's the official Baseball by Design official wildlife correspondent and musical enthusiast, Ranger Amy Burnett. So
I'm gonna record Pat saying that and then just play the recording whenever Amy comes on the podcast, I think.
You should do that and just like overdub your voice, so it's you talking, and then all of a sudden it's just Pat saying it.
And it's just Pat. And here comes. I'm glad to welcome back.
And here comes Baseball by Design. Yeah,
no one will notice.
There's also I've been promised a theme song for these segments as well, so I'm waiting for that to come. So
nice.
She's sending you kissy emojis, Pat. Yeah.
Well, like how on Saturday Night Live they have like Brian Fellows Safari Planet. You've got to come up with some kind of jingle for Amy for that.
Absolutely. Well, Amy and all of her sisters are like very musical. This is why she's a musical enthusiast, and so they're gonna put together something, and they're gonna sing Amy's own jingle here. So, anyhow, how about we return to the subject at hand, which is the spring trainings. So we're getting back to Clearwater, and but since then I've been a number of times to Arizona for spring training, and it's awesome. Like, it's just awesome. It's so much fun. It definitely should be on your bucket list to get to both Florida and Arizona. It doesn't have to be the same year, but definitely should be something that that you want to get to.
Yeah, definitely. I do want to get out to the Cactus League, obviously, but just hasn't worked out yet. But soon.
All right. Well, there's a guest room that I know about that we can, see about.
Yeah, I'd love to get out to Arizona too, because I'd like to just be able to honestly assess both leagues and both spring trainings and just a new experience, which is what I appreciate about all these people, is that so many people have done so many great trips, and the problem is it's not great for my wallet because now I want to take every single one of those trips.
Right. This is the problem with Anna's podcast.
Mm-hmm.
The two problems with Anna's podcast, well documented. One, it gets expensive because she's constantly putting ideas in your head, and two, crying at work.
Yeah. Well, and a third one is that she's just annoyingly natural at being a host. Like, she's just so good at making it seem effortless, and it's not an easy thing to do, but she just makes it seem so like effortless and smooth. And the audio quality, can we just talk about the audio quality being phenomenal? I'm done, but like, your audio quality is just sensational.
Thank you. Very kind.
I agree with everything that Pat says.
I want to back up because
okay. And have Pat start over?
Yeah.
Pat, what was the thing that you just said?
Take that and rewind it back.
Could you repeat that?
The original, second half of the World Baseball Classic kind of point was this. I'm so annoyed by this, and of course, just fresh off the end of the World Series, everybody celebrating the world champion Houston Astros, and it drives me up a wall because it's like, does the winner of the MLS, do they consider themselves to be the world champion of soccer? Because they'd be laughed at. And then you literally have Olympics and the World Baseball Classic, and it just drives me crazy.
Yeah. So yes, and your point's super well taken. I agree with that. It's kind of goofy. Especially since when was the last time the U.S. actually won the World Baseball Classic?
Yeah.
So my question is there an international team out there that could beat the Astros right now in a best of 5, best of 7 series?
Ooh, that's a great question.
And I get your point's well taken that, it's presumptuous of us to call them the world champions because it's 29 American teams and 1 Canadian team. So, but it does raise the question, like, don't put together a Major League Baseball all-star team. Just take the Houston Astros and fly them to a neutral site to play a Cuban team, a Japanese team. I don't know, what a team from the Dominican.
Yeah. Because in soccer they have the FIFA Club World Cup where they name world champions, but even that's flawed because you can not even win your own domestic league, but then you can be named world champions. It happened with the team that I support. So they finished like 3rd in the league, but yet they were named the world champions. So
right.
Yeah.
So Dave and Mike, I think are proving my point here. The U.S. hasn't won the World Baseball Classic for 3 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's been 3 years since the U.S. won the World Baseball Classic. Okay, I guess I didn't remember that. I guess now that they say that, I kind of do remember it.
Yeah.
So I think that's. I think it's funny. And whenever I think of the phrase, I always think of Chase Utley I don't know how famous this is outside of Philadelphia, but when they did the parade and they finished the parade in 2008 in the Citizens Bank Park, and it's all the players are getting like 30 seconds to say something, and Chase Utley gets up there and he's got like his little skull cap on and his like black jacket, and he goes, "World champions," and everyone's just like going crazy, and then he goes, "World effing champions," except he didn't say effing, he said a real bad word, and the place just was like this is like went totally crazy.
What did he do again?
He went
there we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
And I did too. I was watching at work on I was streaming it. This is a bucket list item for me. I need to put it on my bucket list to get to a championship parade. I want to see a championship parade. I don't care what sport, I don't care what team. I want to see a championship parade and throw a beer at Ted Cruz. Did you guys see that?
I did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, by the way, I don't know how you guys are with your politics as sports here, but I often feel like there's a lot of parallels between following politics and following sports, especially during an actual election. And literally sitting there last night watching the election with the exact, I noticed the exact same feeling that I had watching the baseball playoffs, right? Like this same, just anxiety and maybe if I turn it off and do something else for a minute, that won't cause any bad luck, or I'm trying not to jinx things, or So, and then I guess the difference is that in this instance, you don't know for well, in some cases, 4 weeks before the, but how many innings could you get in a 4-week runoff?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Well, and even some of the sports bars I was hearing, that I had friends that said they had been out at bars, and instead of games on, they had the different channels on that were trying to call elections in whatever way it went. But they said they went to the bar just to try to get some wings, and then it was, instead of sports on, they had on the polls, and they were calling elections or giving updates about it. And I was like, that's real interesting. So it's kind of interesting that you kind of gave that parallel between sports and politics in that sense, because people are following it in a lot of the same ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I actually think that politics has become that for a lot of people anyway. Just they signed up for a team, and it's all they care about is whether their team wins. So, it's funny. I guess there have been some championship parades. Maybe I do care about what city it's in and what sport it is, because there have been championship parades in Denver, and I've never tried to go to one.
Yeah, recently too, right?
Yeah. The Broncos won the Super Bowl, and
right.
Did the Avs win the Stanley Cup last year?
They did.
They did.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like I should know.
They did. What about the Fort Collins Foxes? What about their championship parade?
We should have a
Yeah.
parade where we get to do like the St. Paul Saints did and do
I was
a
just about to
1 block
say.
parade.
Yep. Do the 1 block parade right in front of your house for the Fort Collins Foxes.
I mean, it's right there. It's right there, right? So,
I
hey, that's
support
when you
this
guys should come out too.
ticket. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I do
Boston
too.
Bowling in 2024. Yeah.
Yep.
Make
That's when
America average again.
that's when I can put check.
Make America average.
Please make that your slogan. Please make that your slogan.
Hey, I have a question for you guys. Baseball Palooza, which you know of. We've only ever seen one major league game on Baseball Palooza, and it was because it was Wrigley Field, and a lot of the guys had never been to Wrigley. And so it was sort of like, hey, let's, got to get to Wrigley because we're close, and that's a bucket lister for so many baseball fans. Have a potential itinerary outlined for Baseball Palooza 2023, and we could cut the driving way, way down. We would have a couple of days where we would have 6-hour drives, and unless we cut the driving, we could cut the driving way, way down by mixing in one major league team instead of 4 minor league teams. I personally would prefer to do all minor league baseball because I don't mind being in the van. It's fun being in the van. You joke, you laugh, it's like whatever. You stop at the breweries and mini golf and all that stuff. So I personally would rather do the all minor league and do the longer drives. But you could really cut like 6 to 7 hours total driving over 4 days off by mixing in a major league team instead and cutting out one of the minor league teams. What do you guys think?
What's the major league team?
Seattle Mariners.
Hmm.
Let me tell you the minor league team that would get cut out too, and this breaks my heart. The Tri-City Dust
Portland?
Devils.
No.
I know. Can you imagine? Can you imagine bringing a van full of Baseball Palooza to the Tri-City Dust Devils?
And you can't do that to Eric the Peanut Guy.
No, I know, but I got a bunch of snowflake complainers here complaining about 6 hours in the van to drive to Eastern Washington.
Tell him to bring a pillow and sleep.
Bring a pillow and sleep.
I will say there's something to be said about the juxtaposition of getting a major league game thrown in with minor league. It kind of balances things kind of nicely. So
yeah.
It actually highlights to me the level. It makes you appreciate the level of play at the major league level with the plays that the major leaguers make look routine that are not routine at the minor league level, even at AAA, is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And seeing that, being a fan of minor league baseball, but also attending major league games, like you know, it's a noticeable difference in the level of play. Not that the minor leagues are bad. It's not like a comedy of errors or anything, but it's just like the stuff, the sort of superhuman stuff that the major leaguers are doing, which is why when you see a player who stands out on the major league level, it's just ungodly how good that player is, because it's just like, I mean, how are they so much better than all of these people who are so much better than everybody else?
Yeah, especially when you go from like a single A to the major leagues. I mean, when you see just all those levels of difference, I mean, like for me, like, and this is no disrespect, it's just the level that that you play at. But when I go from an Augusta Green Jackets game to the Gwinnett Stripers, it's just a big difference in the level of play. But one is, one is a single A and one is triple A. So it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So I agree with that. I mean, I would love to bring the Baseball Palooza van out to Pasco, Washington, and have Eric the Peanut Guy roll out the red carpet for us. So, but it may not happen. The complainers may get to everybody and cause us to end up in Seattle instead of Pasco.
But if you have to make a sacrifice ending up in Seattle, you could end up in a lot worse places. And Safeco's a great ballpark. I've not been to a lot of major league parks. I'm not all 30 like some people on this stream, but Safeco was a really, really fun experience.
Have you been to all 30, Anna?
I have.
You say you have?
Yes. Yeah.
It's awesome. I've not.
Yeah.
No.
I think I've been to 20 or 21 of the current 30. And
Yeah.
then I've been to like 8 or 9 of the defunct ones.
Yeah. It was real easy to get back to 30 after, obviously the latest and greatest is right here in town. So, um, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I love Seattle. Seattle's up there for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Ranger Amy and I hit Seattle. It's actually funny. 2 of the 4 teams we're looking at for Baseball Palooza are ones that Ranger Amy and I hit at the end of the season last year, Vancouver and Seattle. So, Johnny, I like Johnny's little behind the scene information here. Matt's grandmother helped him connect with him to set the interview. It's cool listening to a minor league baseball player be interviewed. That was something that Ed used to do more of on his podcast. He hasn't done that in a while.
Yeah.
Now
no,
he's
it
just
was
going to
cool.
be interviewing kids on the school bus.
Dave was talking
True
about,
story.
when we were talking about the level of play and the difference between the levels.
Yeah.
He said if the pitcher loses the strike zone at the lower levels, it can get ugly, and
Yeah.
that's the truth.
Yeah.
That's why the minor league helmets are like, 10x the size of the major league helmets, because
Right.
it's incredibly rare for a major leaguer to get popped in the head, but
Yeah.
unfortunately not so much down in the lower levels.
One of the things I heard about these independent leagues, the partner leagues, the Major League Baseball partner leagues, that's pretty interesting, is they said that because there are fewer players in the minor league systems now, in the affiliated minor league systems, that there are fewer pitchers, and any pitcher who demonstrates in the independent leagues that he can throw a curveball immediately gets signed to a minor league contract. It immediately gets picked up by one of the one of the major league teams and starts playing affiliated ball. And so what you have in these partner leagues is a bunch of guys throwing medium to hard fastballs, and professional baseball players are going to pick up on that eventually. And now they're all these games are like 16-12 and take 4 hours because
Right.
nobody can throw a curveball because all the guys who can throw curveballs are in the affiliated teams.
Mhm.
And that definitely bore itself out, not last season, but the year before that, when we did our Pioneer League road trip. That was definitely the case. We saw a lot of like 16-12 games. So left you guys speechless with that, huh?
Yeah.
A lot of folks doing a Pacific Northwest trip here. It's what can I say? Ranger Amy and I are fashion makers when it comes to
leading the way.
Yeah. Well, and Anna, I think you and Japan Ball are doing a Pacific Northwest leg of that Midnight Sun trip as well, right? Like the first leg.
yes.
That's right. Yeah. It's up in Washington.
Mhm.
Washington State, obviously, before the Atlanta. Boy, that would be something. Alaska add-on. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's not
That
very
is
cool.
that's pretty cool. And so this trip that you're putting together with Shane from Japan Ball,
Mhm.
is also includes a train ride to Denali National Park.
We are working on details for Denali. Maybe a train ride, maybe a bus ride. The train ride's a little harder to make happen just because it's about twice as long as a bus ride. So
Okay.
trying to figure it out right now. But yeah, definitely a day at Denali and some other really cool stuff that we got kind of in the works right now. So all I'll say is very, very, very happy to have met Shane, because no way I could
That's great.
try to put all this together. It's
Wow.
a big undertaking.
Look
Well,
at
kudos
John
to both of you, though.
Southey coming in weapons hot with
Yeah.
Where's Wichita? Wow. So I actually met Eric Prophet at a Wind Surge game, but it was like super brief because we only kind of like half knew each other. This was like it was before the podcast had started, and so we did a helmet Sunday exchange, and it was just like, hey, we know each other from Twitter, and we took a picture, and then that was the end of it. Whereas this past summer, when Amy and I were in what do you call it, in Albuquerque, and the Prophet Palooza boys were there in Albuquerque, we spent 5 innings with them, so that was great getting to hang out with those guys. So Wichita sounds like a fake place, but it's in the central time zone, so it's real.
Wichita is on my list this year. I'm gonna make it happen. It's too easy not to. It's just, it's a 5-hour drive, I think, for me.
It's like a
So,
7-hour drive for me. Let me know when you're going to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
yeah,
planning on going as well, just because it's, you hear all about it. And, Eric is such a good ambassador of the wind surge, and heard nothing but great things. And I have never been to Kansas, actually. So it would be a way to knock another state off the list that I've never been to. So
nice.
Hannah, how many states have you
definitely.
been to?
Haven't counted. I don't know. Several,
Okay. You
a
guys want
few.
to take a guess at my number?
All
46.
50.
All 50. Pat got it.
And
The
your last
fun.
stop was Portland, was in Portland, Maine, when you went to see the Portland Sea
Maine.
Dogs.
It's absolutely
Nice.
true.
Nice.
It's 100% true.
I've been listening to my baseball by design.
Is that where did I say that? I must have. Oh, I said that early on the Portland episode.
You
That's
did.
crazy. That was a long time ago. That's very impressive, Pat. So yeah, all 50, and on my the one and only 24 hours that I've ever spent in Maine, I had a lobster roll for each meal.
This story I've
lunch,
heard.
That's
That story I've heard. Yeah.
I remember that
Zach,
story from the podcast. Yeah.
yeah,
Breakfast,
that's
lunch,
the
and
one.
dinner.
Now I'm remembering it. I want to answer Zach's question. We're only gonna see the gold panners on the official trip. I'm considering extending, being in Alaska to try to do some more things. So, would love to see more baseball, obviously, but just the gold panners on the Japan ball trip.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, right? That's do you think the do you think that this tickets have already sold? I know that the tickets went out on sale on November 1st. Do you think that's like a big grab, like people grab them up right away and then they're sold out forever?
So what we've learned is that it's kind of like what the Saints told us, right? Is that there's really never a sellout because they can sell effectively as many general admission tickets as they want. I do know that the reserved seating kind of goes a little faster, but I would presume it will sell out. I don't think it, will have already. I think it
Yeah.
kind of takes a while. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know. I would hate to miss out on it. So, but we're planning it. We're gonna make it a birthday celebration.
woohoo!
All
Whose
right.
birthday? Yours or
Ranger Amy's birthday.
I was gonna try to go for the whole acronym, and I was like, no, it's not
Baseball
gonna
by
happen.
design, wildlife correspondent, and
Wildlife
musical
correspondent
enthusiast.
and musical enthusiast, Ranger Amy Burnett.
Ranger Amy Burnett.
Isn't she the official wildlife correspondent there?
Did I miss official? We didn't put it in the acronym. We need to add official.
No,
Hey, pretty soon,
man.
you did a great job.
pretty soon, I'm going to have a Revolutionary War correspondent for my
Hey,
upcoming episodes on the Greensboro Grasshoppers and the Fred Gnats.
Ooh,
very cool.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So are you
I
just
got the
gonna,
same.
so are people gonna start adding this to their Twitter bio, that as soon
They
as you
better.
have official correspondence for all these different areas, that
Yeah. I got my history, my nature, my culture. It's it's got all the
You gotta
areas
go.
covered here.
Gotta go
Yeah.
acronyms though, because limited space
Yeah.
there, limited characters.
Yeah.
Shane's back. Shane's back with his acronyms. It says
But, I mean,
camera.
that
The
really
word
is a fun
camera's
part.
in there.
Yeah,
BB
camera
Dow
B,
camera B.
BB Dow camera B. I like that. But that really is a fun part of your episodes, Paul, is just kind of throwing in that instead of just the logos and the history of the team and everything else, you also throw in that little last part about that covers something that's outside of baseball, and it really kind of helps me learn something every week. So that's a really fun thing that you do, that you add to your episode, that makes it really creative and unique.
Well, thank you, Pat. It's something I have fun with, and they're people I know often through work, because the people I work with, people who are members of the association that I work for, are people who work at like parks and nature centers and historical sites, and they're called heritage interpreters, and they do, they're like tour guides essentially, or park rangers and whatnot. So like they're these awesome like subject matter experts. And so when I first started, I remember I was doing an episode on the Daytona Tortugas, and like I had a friend who worked at the Sea Turtle Conservancy, and I'm like, hey, you want to come on the podcast and talk about sea turtles? And then that's the episode. I forgot about the episode with McGruff.
Yeah.
That was
you've had McGruff, you've had people like a stunt man.
David the Bullet Smith.
Great. That was a great episode.
That
might have been actually. Sorry, go ahead, Pat.
No, I just mean it's not one dimensional. It's very much a. It can always be something different every week, and even if you do have the same person on, they don't present it in the same way. So it's really, really fun.
Pat, you're very, very kind, and I think we knew there was going to be this awkward deflecting of compliments from Pat because Pat's the kindest, most genuine person ever. So
yes,
so you got to get your compliment deflecting gloves on when Pat's here. So
just protect yourself.
You know what I really like too is like I sometimes now. McGruff retweeted John. That's awesome. Sometimes I like I find myself wanting to say like this person is like the nicest person in the world, and then I'll be like, and then I have like 5-10 people who I can be like, oh, like this person or this person or this person, and but Pat's always top of the list. Pat and Eric the Peanut Guy are always like the two genuine, like they just this aura of kindness just emanating from them, right?
So, Eric makes me look like a jerk. Let's be really honest about that.
No,
Eric Mertens makes me look like a jerk.
I like getting Karina talking about Eric Mertens, because then she gives you all the dirt on how grumpy he is. He saves all of his grumpiness for home.
Because I was going to say, I've literally never seen him impatient, I don't think so. He just always is super positive, but I'm sure Karina has probably more stories.
Yeah, he tied my shoelaces together at the game and laughed when I tripped. Yeah,
man,
that guy.
Those peanut guys.
Zach makes an excellent point, by the way. The Australian Baseball League, which is that's another bucket lister right there. Get over to see the Brisbane Bandits or whatever.
Melbourne Aces.
Melbourne Aces.
Yeah.
Does anyone
know how to watch that? Is there a way to stream those games
on YouTube? Yeah, just go to the ABL website and you can stream them on YouTube.
Yeah.
So,
and I love how some of the announcers and some people double up, and they work half the year in Australia and half the year here, and Johnny's up to it again.
Johnny is getting after it here. Hey, we're down to 2 minutes here, so let's chat about what do you guys have coming up on your future installments. Pat, you're the guest host. What do you have coming up here on your future? Or are you allowed to say, is this like insider information for Curve Brim After Dark participants?
Well, a lot of times I would tell you it's mystery, but a lot of times it's because I haven't decided who is coming on next. It's I'm not as organized as the other as all of you, and having your next one's already queued up. But this week is obviously the Asheville Tourists, and I really did that on purpose to congratulate the Houston Astros on their World Series championship. Since I referred to them as world champion, sorry, Anna, I will but just as a nod to Astros fans and everything else. And so be sure to check that out. And next week, I will let you know as soon as I can figure it out.
Okay. Now on the flip side of congratulating the Astros, maybe they can just go right to hell. Just kidding. Congratulations to my friends who are Astros fans. What a team. Did you notice, by the way, that the Phillies fans, when they were chanting cheater at the players, they only chanted cheater at the players who were on the 2017 roster? They didn't chant cheater at any other players.
I didn't notice that. That's
knowledgeable baseball fans right there.
Yeah, well educated, I would say.
Yeah. Anna, what do you have coming up?
I have this week a friend of mine who I used to work with when I lived in Florida named Charles Westcat, and he grew up in Montreal as an Expos fan. So some cool stories about baseball on the radio in French.
That is very cool. I
Yeah.
listened to the 2001 World Series, the famous 2001 World Series, the Diamondbacks over the Yankees, on French radio in Montreal because that was the only way I could follow it.
Oh,
That's cool.
whenever I
Um,
think of that World Series, I think about Luis Gonzalez, but that's just
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I just remember some of the French calls. I learned some good French that way. So, I have my 50th episode coming up next week, and so I'm bringing back Chris Creamer to. He was my first guest on my first episode. Chris Creamer from SportsLogos.net. He's coming back, and then after that, the 2 weeks after that, I've got the Erie Seawolves and the Greensboro Grasshoppers.
Nice.
At long last.
very good.
Yeah. So
The very elusive grasshoppers.
the elusive
Yes.
grasshoppers, I finally was able to track them down. So
Is that like, not to be a spoiler, but is that going to have Baseball by Design official wildlife correspondent, musical enthusiast Ranger Amy Burnett on it?
it very, very well. It actually is going to have my Rev War correspondent. That's what the hip kids are calling the Revolutionary War these days. And Ranger Amy. They'll both be on that episode. Ranger Amy is
Wow,
not
that's
on my Erie Seawolves episode, though.
Not a lot of insight on seawolves to be shared.
No.
Yeah.
But I do have a guy named Chuck Johnson from the Maritime Museum of Erie on it to talk about ships. So
Very cool.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
awesome.
So, all right, I'm going to try to do my best Ed Rivera impression here and play our outro. Pat, thank you so much for joining us, coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
You're America's greatest hero. Can't wait for more minor league baseball hat histories. And Anna, thank you as always. I'm glad the two of us were here. At least you and I showed some dedication to this.
Mhm. You know the real
All right.
one can show up.
Exactly. All right, we'll see everyone later. Thanks for being
Bye,
here.
y'all.
Okay, bye.
Uh-oh. Oh, I'm changing the background. I'm doing the wrong thing. Ed, we need you.